Hello YouTubers, how you doing today? It's me with another video, and I hope you do enjoy this one. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons, really means a lot to me. Anyway, thank you for all your kind comments and for your feedback on the video so far. And it's great to see some people watching from outside of the UK, around the world, in places like Australia, New Zealand, Canada. It's great to have you with us on the channel, appreciate that. Anyway, today's video is the update from the update. So today I'm going to show you the signalman's telephone, as it were, the telegraph and communication belt that you'd find in the old style signal boxes, where the signalman used to talk to his mate down in the next signal box. They didn't have mobile phones and Wi-Fi and text messages and WhatsApp in those days. They just had a system of bells which they used to talk to each other from. And this is what I've tried to replicate on my model railway control panel here. So there it is. I've just finished this today. So it's all mounted, it's all wired up and ready to go. So again, really simple. Just knocked up a couple of bits of timber to make the block instrument shelf, as it were. Something else is going to go in this space here, I'm not sure yet, but it will definitely be signal box orientated. And again, this white plinth that's bare at the moment, this is where the levers are going to go. If you can picture that. As I said, there's going to be some little miniature levers I'm going to put in a miniature lever frame here, and these will be connected up to some point motors and they'll control my points. But in the meantime, we're going to have some fun because we've got this 12 volt bell. It's actually rated at 24 volts, so it handles 16 volts AC, as I found out, much more better. When I did fit this up earlier, it wasn't doing anything, and I thought, had I wired up something wrong? And when I did look, I found there was two problematic causes to why it wasn't working. Number one, the 12 volts DC wasn't enough for it. And when I remember when I had this bell here wired up and connected up to my tube train simulator as the guard starting bell, I actually forgot to remember it was using 16 volts AC. So it actually feeds off AC as opposed to 12 volts DC. It likes that better. So the other thing was, well, this Morse code kind of key switch I've built, it wasn't working. It wasn't making contact with this plate here. And for some reason, all this is live, but it wasn't making contact. So I tested the continuity between this plate here, the little brass contact and the spring, and between there and there was perfect voltage. This was making the contact as well underneath here. That was okay. Spring was okay. This plate was okay. But for some reason, it wasn't making. And then I realised something. These two metal plates, these square bracket plates I've cut, as you can see here, I actually stuck them on with super glue. So I think what's happened is that super glue has acted like an insulator, and for some reason it's not picking it up too well. It hardly picked up the current. So what I've done is basically soldered a little wire from that plate to the bottom plate where it connects, and everything feeds nicely. I know it's a little bit crude, but the thing actually works now. So I'll demonstrate that in a minute, but before we go on to how it works, or the principle behind it, I'm going to show you a little bit of information that will make things much more understandable. So as mentioned in the last video, I used to work in a signal box many moons ago on British Railways. Two types of signal boxes I used to work in. I used to work in, as mentioned, the modern 1960s push button diagram panel, which is known as a entrance and exit panel, which had push buttons on it. And the other type of signal box I used to work in was with the old style fashioned levers. And the level crossing box I used to work at was Hyams Park in East London, which is between Chinkford and Walthamstow. It's still there today. The box unfortunately is no longer there. It's just the shell, and everything inside sadly is gone. And there is a video of me on this channel paying a visit there after 20-something years. Anyway, on to what I'm talking about. So as mentioned, when I used to work at Hackney Downs, we had a bell code system that used to allow the signalman to talk to his mate down the line in the next box, or if he wanted to send some information about what he wanted to send to him in terms of a train. They didn't always use the telephone because there wasn't always a telephone available, and obviously if there was a line fault with the telephone system, like the phone line was down outside due to bad weather or something like that, you could always rely on the telegraph system, which used a series of bells, which you'll see in a minute. So up here, I've got a laminated sheet which I've just produced today, which is the official bell code directory, if you like. So if I put this in front here, you'll be able to see this again. I didn't want to screenshot it, I'll just show you with the phone. So obviously number 1 is call of attention. So if you wanted to talk to your mate in box B and you're at box A and you wanted to tell him that I'd like to talk to you about something, what you did, you sent him a single bell, like that. He then sent you a single bell back, which means, okay, I've heard you, yeah, what do you want? And then it goes on down the list to tell you what we got. So if you sent a 1, a 1 and a 3, is the line clear for engine with no more than 2 brake vans, you'd go like this. So 1 and a 1 and a 3 would be, and then basically he would send you the answer back. Moving down the list here, it tells you lots of information about what you'd send basically. So these are all your train descriptions. So it says here you've got 1, a 3 and a 1, which is line clear for parcels, fish, fruit, horse, livestock, meat, milk, pigeon or perishable train composed entirely of vehicles conforming to coaching stock requirements. So that's basically your goods train, livestock, stuff for the market. Now, this is interesting. It gets more complex. As you can see, you've got a 3 and 3, which is blocking back outside home signal. Now, a 3, 3 and 4 is interesting because it means train or vehicles at a stand. So, for some reason, if you had a train in your section and that train had to stop suddenly in that section between box A and B, if that train came to a stand between that no man's land between box A and B, you'd then have to send the following code to your mate in box B, which would be a 3, 3 and a 4, which would go, which means train or vehicle at a stand. In other words, the driver needed to go for a quick one. He's screwed the brakes down, jumped out the train and gone in the bush to relieve himself. Believe it or not, that's a 334, because it means the train has come to a stand or vehicles at a stand in that section, and you have to by law tell the next signal box that there's a train in section at a stand not moving for whatever reason. So once say for example, once the driver got back into his cab and he was ready to go, carry on, you'd then send a 335, which is line now clear in accordance with regulation 4 for train to approach. And that is basically regulation 4. Regulation 4 is 334, which we just looked at, which was train or vehicle at a stand. And then 335 is line now clear in accordance with regulation 4 for train to approach. In other words, the train's ready to go. So what you do, once you realise the driver's got back in the train, or he's told you, right, I've just gone for a quick one in the bush, I'm okay now, signalman, I'm going to get back and start my train, permission to proceed. Yeah, righto, mate, go on, carry on. I'd then say to my friend in box B, the other signalman in box B, righto, here we go. So we'd go. That means line now clear in accordance with regulation 4 for train to approach. You get the idea. And then we've got 4 beats here, which is line clear for passenger express trains, newspaper trains, breakdown, van train or snow plough, going to clear the line, light engine going to assist a disabled train or officer's special train not requiring a stop in section. So it's the line clear. So that's basically 4 beats. That would be up here, it would be, and then your mate will send you back the same signal. Here's an interesting one. 4-5. 4-5 bell code is train passing without tail lamp into box in rear. So in the old days, but it still stands today on the railway, that I was always taught in the railway school that a train is never complete unless it passes your signal box with a red tail lamp or tail lights illuminated at the rear. That means the train is complete. If it's incomplete, it's 4-5, which would be like that. That's a 4-5. That's telling my mate in box B, there's a train just passed me, he ain't got no tail lamp on the back. So then, if the signalman what he would do in box B normally would send that back, okay, same bell code, and then he would then get that train to stop at box B and have a word with the driver and say, "Oi, what's the matter with your guard? Because he didn't have his shreddy wheat today. He didn't put the tail lamp on the back. Well, it might have gone out. It might be defective." Which then the guard would put his emergency lamp on the back of the train, normally a Bardic with a red aspect at the back, to make sure that's taken care of. But that's basically, I know I'm waffling on, but that's the principle of how it works. It's a brilliant system. It still works. Here's an interesting one. If we look at 5-5, train divided, if you can see that in the box there. Train divided in the column there on the left, 5-5. That would be train divided. That means, oops, the coupling's broke somewhere, and now half the train is rolling away from the rest of the train, or the loco and the first 4 carriages are now motoring off in the distance, leaving 3 carriages with their passengers stranded behind. That's now train split. Also, in days of steam, if that happened, once the brake continuity was destroyed, the brakes came on, the coaches would come to a squealing halt, and the driver would realise he's lost his vacuum and there's something wrong. So it was all fail-safe. But in those days, and even with electric trains and modern trains, if the train's split, it shouldn't do, but if it ever happens, that's the old bell code you'd use. Here's an interesting one. 5-5-5. That doesn't call you a taxi, by the way. 5, and these little, if you can see in the column there on the left-hand side there, guys and girls, those little dashes in between the numerals indicates a pause between the beats. So you don't do a series of rapid bells because that means something else, which I'll show you in a minute. But 5 pulls 5 pulls 5, which is that means, guess what? It means I'm open for business today. My signal box is now open. I'm on duty. I'm getting the kettle on. That's what it means. It means like a shop. Because some signal boxes are 24 hours out there, if you didn't know this. So some of you might not know this. So it all helps to know information, especially the younger viewers out there on this video. A signal box, and the way it used to work in the olden days of steam trains or in BR days, is that some signal boxes weren't required to be open continuously, which meant that it was only switched in or manned as required. If there was a special train to go around, or one or two goods trains a day to use that section of line to go around a single line onto another part of the railway, and that box would be switched in and opened up like a shop. And then guess what? Once the passage of those trains had finished and there was no other trains that day for that section, or that signal box didn't need to be switched in anymore, you'd then close the shop, or you'd send a 557, which would be like that. That's a 557, and that means I'm closing for the day. I'm going home to have me grub. See you later. Ta-da. It means we're closed for the day. Signal box closed. Okay. Now here is a very important rule that was always drummed into me in the signal box. If you don't know any other bell codes, there's 2 bell codes that you should always know, and it's this one, number 1. If I can just zoom in, if it'll let me, hang on. No, it won't let me, okay. Oh, now it decides to zoom in. Blinking phone. Right, here we go. Can we all see on the left-hand column the number 6? That one there, 6, which means obstruction danger. And there's no, you notice that with that bell code there with 6, it's 6 as it is. There's no pause in between the beats. It's just straightforward 6 bells. So you can basically, you can do like that, or you can go 6 bells. And that tells the signalman in box B or wherever, right, pull up your signals ASAP. There is a dangerous situation. Like, it could have been a tree falling across the track. It could have been a derailment. It could be a runaway train, train without brakes that's failed. But more importantly, it's blocked the line. It's stop the job. So 6 bells, and then the signalman would normally send you 6 bells back to say I've received that. And then if he's got a normal wired phone, he'd pick up the telephone and say, right, what's the matter? Okay, trees falling across the line between A and B box. Both roads are blocked because the tree's fallen across both tracks. Stop the job. Righto. All these signals put to danger, and you put yours to danger beforehand as well. So that's basically 6 bells means obstruction, danger. There's something on the line that's basically causing a potential hazard. Train unusually long time in section, 6 and a 2. Train an unusually long time in section. It could be, well, that train should have took 4 minutes to pass between A and B box, or it could have took, say, 8 minutes per timetable, and all of a sudden it's turned into 20 minutes. There's no train in section. What's happened? Well, one of the interesting scenarios is that, don't forget, between signal box A and B, this is where it gets technical, so pay attention. Signal box A and B isn't always in an open section of line. There could be between A and B a long tunnel. At the end of the long tunnel, a couple of 100 yards from the tunnel mouth, is signal box B. So what could have happened is the train has entered the tunnel from box A on its way to box B. Something's happened in the tunnel with the train. It's taken a long time to come through. And box B is getting rather anxious, thinking, where's this train? Should have been here about 10 minutes ago. It's now 15, 20 minutes getting on. Where is it? So he could send you that following bell code. Right, a little closer to the video before we go. The thing that I used to do every day, as regular as clockwork, was 16 bells. And 16 bells was testing of the block indicators and bells. So every day, normally about 10 o'clock after the rush hour, after everything had calmed down, it was my job as the train recorder in the box, and when I was a signalman as well, to test the bells. And you had to write it down in the TRB, which is the train recorder book. And then you just basically 10-16, you went... And then if the signalman in box B, or wherever you were sending the bell codes to, he would normally give you the 16 back. Or sometimes if you disturbed him from his kit after the rush hour, he would go... rather rapidly. I say, all right, okay, leave me alone now, please. But yeah, I hope you get that today. So there we go. Again, it looks a little bit crude, but for what I'm using it for, it's the ideal functioning purpose, I think. As mentioned, it looks a little bit bare, but once you've got a picture of these lever frames in place, they'll look even better. And if we can put something up here, we might do. But yeah. So I've just laminated these sheets today. Again, these are straight out the rule book. I've just basically screenshotted them and laminated them. So this, you can find these in online base. This is where I got mine from, the online rule book, and just copied them basically. Just a quick word of note, the other place that you will find a copy of these, besides the BR rule books and the current rule books for signalling, and obviously online, another place that you will find this information will be in my forthcoming book, which will be published hopefully some point this year. It's an autobiography about my life on the railways, the ups and downs, more downs than there is up. It's called I Walk the Line, and hopefully, because I finished writing it now, it's all written, it's just got to be proof checked and printed, and then we're ready to go. So when it does come out, I will give you a notification of that. If you're interested in grabbing a copy, you can get a copy from me at a very reasonable fee. Anyway, that's to be discussed because it's not actually in print yet, but it has been written, and it's just got to be checked and put through the editor and printing department, and then that will be it. But in the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope you're well out there today, and thank you for attending my signalling training school. You've all passed, you'd be pleased to say. And go and get yourselves a cup of tea, and I'll see you in the next video. Bosh! Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. See you later on. Cheers, Tar.